So welcome all. Today we would be focusing on an important topic, and that is consistency and patience. Now, why do you think sometimes you feel you are not consistent with what you are studying? Now, most of the students I interact with say, I have been studying 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. So, do you think counting on time makes it a sensible decision to say that you are consistent with your preparation? I can be studying 18 hours a day and still retaining nothing. So will I be considered as a consistent candidate? Or students also question, I have been preparing for last 4 years, for last 5 years. I was consistent. Do you think that a student who has been working hard for last 4 years, 5 years is saying that the student is consistent despite of the facts that the results do not show? So there has been a problem with the definition of the consistency word here. Now, first thing to understand is when we count consistency, it is not in terms of the input in time. If you are considering time as an input, that is the biggest ever mistake you are committing, because students can be in front of their books for 10 hours, 15 hours, 18 hours, not sleeping whole night, but still not producing the output as desired. So we do not say this as a consistent performance. A consistent performance is a step-by-step improvement, a gradual improvement. And since I say it's a gradual improvement, what is required is patience. You have to be extremely patient while you are studying. Now, consistency should be counted in one important aspect, and that is the amount that you desire to complete in a given day or in a given duration. So let's take a very simple example. I assume that I want to cover all the chapters of class 6 science, that is, let's say all the 14 to 15 chapters which are there in the syllabus. I want to cover in the coming days. Now, if I am consistent, I would try to cover one chapter daily. If not one, probably half chapter daily. If not half, probably 1/4 chapter daily. But I would constantly put input to proceed with the same task. I would not switch from science to social science, from social science to maths, from maths to English, and so on and so forth. So there is where is a lack of consistency. If you are understanding that this is my target, I need to achieve it, then you have to constantly work for it. I have also seen students who start with a book. Let's say the book is very small. So I am giving you two different case studies. In one case study, the book is very small. So what you do is you take the book, you read 1-2 pages, and then say, this is a very small book, I can finish it anytime, keep it aside. So you just keep it aside. So that is case 1. Case 2 is there is a detailed comprehensive book. You start that, yes, I'll cover this book by all means, and if I am done this, everything is all set. So you start with a whole lot of enthusiasm. You study 1 or 2 pages or at least 1 or 2 chapters, and then you are totally tired. Oh, this takes a big toll. I cannot continue with this. So what you do is you keep the book aside and you don't proceed with it. Now what is happening? In either of these cases, you are not doing what you should do, and therefore there is lack of consistency. So as I say, good things take time. So what you need to do is stay consistent. Even if it is a small book, you have picked it, finish it. That would be a good way of reducing the compilations that you need to do towards the end. Or if it is a big book and you are struggling with it, then don't just drop it. try to cover, if not one chapter, half chapter, if not half chapter, at least 2 pages on a daily basis, so that you are consistent with the book, and in the remaining hours you can cover the remaining topics that you wish to move forward with. Okay, so that is one of the major things that you need to focus. There is a question from Vishal. Vishal says how to prepare for essays for paper 1 and 2. Now, Vishal, if you are preparing for essay is a separate paper. It's not part of UPSC paper 1 or 2. It's a separate paper for your GS mains, first of all. And good essays can be written once you are reading. So if you are reading a lot of content, if you are not focusing on just the superficial content and you are studying each of the chapters, then there are no reason that you won't be able to write good. But if you want to write good, what is required is, as I mentioned, first is reading. Then second is a viewpoint. You must develop your own unique viewpoint, either for or against the topic, whatever suits you well. And the next important thing is practice. Now when I say practice, why do I say practice? Give this a simple try. Write an essay today, write an essay after 3 days on the same topic after reading a little, and write an essay after 10 days on same topic after reading this topic in further detail. And then once you have written the same essay after 10 days, try to go back and compare it to the essay that you had written 10 days back, when you were not that familiar with the topic, when you had not studied that topic into depth, and you would see a remarkable difference. This difference would be a way which would show you the path for improvement. You would automatically understand where you had been lagging. It could be either the part of introduction, it could be either the part of conclusion, or it could be simply grammar. It could be the case that your sentence formations are not proper, or sometimes what is there in your mind is not properly represented in the text, or the representation is not that capturing. So either of those things can come into light, and you would automatically understand how to move forward with. But yes, we do have covered the tips for writing good essays separately, and we have a separate playlist on Examrace YouTube itself. You can just go and check those videos to have a good insight about how to write essays and what are the points you need to keep into mind. There is another question from Aditi Kumari, and she is asking about chapters for history and civics class 7. Aditi, class 6th and 7th NCRTs are already done. Civics can be, you can find it as civics or political science. So the playlist is already available for SST. All subjects for SST have been covered from 6 to 10, and even for ICSE this has already been covered. So you can just take the playlist and you would get the requisite details there. Mohit is another question. How to overcome overthinking and stress? Now Mohit, this is an excellent question. Probably this could be one of the topics of discussion in one of the next sessions. But the main thing that you need to keep in mind is, whenever there is a stress, now it depends on you whether you take this stress as a positive stress or a negative stress. If you are taking this as a stress, it can be as a positive competition, and it could further motivate you to work hard. On the other hand, if you consider this as a situation of over stress, you can go into a vicious loop where you are moving down and down, and you feel a burden of stress which is creating an extreme pressure for you. So that is one thing that you need to keep into mind. The second thing is management. No one on this planet can say I do not have stress, or I did not have stress at any point in my life. So this is a part of normal human behavior, and therefore you must have the art to handle or manage the stress. We have covered again separate videos on stress management, so probably Mohit, just go through those and that can be helpful. Seema is asking about depression. So again, stress management techniques, various techniques we have covered. So those can be a good way to deal with. If you feel that your stress is beyond control, then definitely you need to consult either a psychologist or a psychiatrist for same. Ajay is asking about history. So history preparation, Ajay, for what exam you are targeting? So if it is for UPSC or if it is for NET, you need to work with the prescribed syllabus whatsoever it is. But yes, from our end, we have covered NCRTs till class 10th, 11th and 12th is in progress, and also ICSE, a lot of syllabus has been done and more topics would be coming soon. Tilak has a question for online classes for NET paper 1. Tilak, we do provide video recorded lectures with live interactive doubt resolution sessions. So for this 2021 examinations, our video course is already up and the doubt sessions are already done. However, since the exam has been postponed, we would be covering further doubt resolution sessions in the upcoming months closer to your examination date. So those who have subscribed later for the course would have access to the live interactive doubt resolution sessions there. Hemar Shri has a question that she is a NTSC aspirant and wants to be consistent and balanced with board and NTSC. So if you are preparing for your NTSC, one thing that you need to keep in mind is it is very close to your board syllabus. So don't be afraid that you are sailing in two boats. So you are preparing with your boards, but at the same time the NTSC syllabus is being covered. The second thing is the math. Now math section comes only with practice. The more you practice, the better it is, and therefore you need to have consistent practice and solve the past papers. If whatever state you are applying for stage 1, you need to cover the history and geography of that state specific content very carefully. Ajay has a question that he is preparing for NET history examination. So Ajay, NET history, we have covered the past papers and the study material in detail on doorstep, so you can refer that. Sona Gupta has a question about MCQ series for NET paper 1. Sona, we have already covered a lot of lectures based on 2020 questions which were asked for your NET examination, and probably closer to the month of September and October when the NET is expected to be, we would be covering further more topics. So just check out the 2020 sample questions which we have already done. Those would be definitely a great help, and yes, we would consider the request and we would try to bring in more topics for your paper 1 discussion for NET. Mohit has a question about geography NET set strategy. So Mohit, if you are and then Ajay has a question for history NET. So whatever NET students are there, you have to consider this, that 1/3 time should be devoted to your paper 1 and 2/3 time should be devoted to your subject or the optional. When it comes to strategy, I would recommend this universally across all disciplines, across all subjects, is solve the past papers. Solve at least 5 to 10 year past papers, and then with the recent changing patterns, we have seen a section on comprehension being added in most of the subjects, be it history, be it geography, be it other subjects. So there are last 5 questions which are based on passage, but that passage gives just a brief idea about the concept. You need to have the in-depth knowledge. These passages are not similar to your paper 1 passage where the questions are directly from what is there in the passage. Here the passage gives you a rough idea about the concept, and then you need to have an extra information to suffice the answer. So be very careful about how you prepare with your comprehension section. Those are very scoring sections. And then most of the subjects we have seen is statistics and research as part of their paper 2 as well. So many of the papers in NET have statistics and research in paper 2 as well, besides paper 1. So cover your sections on research very carefully. Then there is a question from Nikhat Afreen asking about CTET and the strategy for the same. So CTET preparation strategy, I believe that it's very similar to your NET, specifically the sections on child pedagogy. You need to understand the concepts very clearly. Cover NCRTs 6 to 10th carefully, whatever stream you are applying for, science or humanities. So cover that carefully. Then Vinay has a question about class 12th political science NCRT. Vinay, we are already in development and a lot of topics are already scheduled for the coming months. More would be coming soon. There is another question from Nabanita asking about economics 2016-17 lectures. Would those be fruitful for 2022? Now, the thing is, for economics, the core concepts would remain the same, but the recent facts and figures, that's specifically when we talk about Indian economics, those concepts change rapidly, and the data, specifically the statistics, change rapidly. So the core concepts would be applicable. NCRTs by all means 9 to 12th is must for economics to be covered. Santosh Dhole has a question, how to keep history dates in mind. History dates, Santosh, we have covered the recent medieval history lectures, and probably you can watch some of those where we have discussed the Mughal Empire and the developments in the later Mughal period. So we have tried to provide the timeline with locations. So if you are finding that useful, that is one of the good ways to remember through visualization. So try those and feel free to provide us the feedback. We can cover the remaining lectures on history in the same sequence. Tilak has a question about PhD mandatory for university degrees or college degrees. Now Tilak, we had already covered as a separate lecture last week on the same topic, so I definitely recommend you go and watch that video. PhD is mandatory for universities, just a quick recap, and however for college it is mandatory for promotion scale or the selection grade. So that is the major difference between the two. Now there is another question about preparation with the stage 1 NTSE examination from Tamil Nadu State Board syllabus. So if you are preparing from whatever state, be it Tamil Nadu, be it Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, you need to know the history and geography of that region, which is very, very essential. Okay, so those were some of the queries that I had addressed to. Sorry, we were a lot engaged with the queries. Coming back to the topic here, the idea is managing the stress, and when I say managing the stress, one of the main things that comes is when you are trying to be consistent with what you are focusing on, you need to understand that sometime or the other you would lag. You won't be able to stand to your targets that you have set for yourself or the timetable that you have prepared. Now, in that circumstances, sometimes it so happens that students lose the patience. Sometimes it so happens that they just plan to drop. They say that this cannot be completed by me, this task cannot be done by me, so I should just drop it. Both of these circumstances are not good. So what you need to have is patience. 90% of the students would drop at a point that you are trying to drop. Okay, if you are able to sail through that, you would be amongst those 10% who have the firm determination, and from this 90% only consider 40 to 50% would wholeheartedly move. So definitely the point where you are trying to skip, you are trying to drop, is the point where most of the students would lose confidence. If you are able to sail through those difficult times, through those difficult circumstances, then there is no reason that success won't be yours. So consistency and patience is definitely a key to success. I'll give you a very simple example. Let's say I am taking a lecture for college students. Vice versa, I given a chance, I am taking a lecture for class 6 to 8th students. Now, definitely the level of patience required for junior grade is much higher. However, as compared to that, the level of patience you would require for a college student, teaching a college student, would be relatively less. Now, what would be a scenario? If I am flip-flopping between the two, if I am on a lecture one day with college students, on the next day with school students, probably as one of the webinars, what would be the case? I need to have patience, and if not, this won't be a successful task. So to make teaching successful in either of the scenarios, it is essential that you maintain patience, and this patience would come when you are consistently working. So those were some of the major things that you need to understand here. Nikhat has a question about Karnataka TET. Now, previous year question papers, definitely you can go for CTET. Similar questions would be asked for your state TET exams as well. And I have seen a lot of exams are upcoming in the month of August. So if you have any doubts, any questions for those, feel free to email us to admin@examrace.com, and they would provide you with the relevant links for guidance for the same. We would be meeting next Tuesdays and Saturdays live, and every day 11:30 morning and 7:30 p.m. we are live. We have our lectures which are scheduled. So wish you a very good luck for your upcoming examinations. Study well, prepare well. Wish you good luck.